Georgia lawyers Bob and Irreverent D talk law. Listen up for stories about how things really happen in our legal system. Who are these guys? Dwayne Singleton, Irreverent D, is a criminal defense attorney in the state of Georgia. Benjamin O. Benson, a.k.a. Bob, is a personal injury attorney in Atlanta. On today's episode, the boys welcome attorney Dan DeWoskin. Now, sit back and take a listen as Bob and Irreverent D talk law.
I told her that she should win. I said, you're going to be right on everything with the law, and you're just expected, you're probably going to lose because there's a lawyer on the other side. The judge is, I said, you're going to lose for absolutely wrongful reasons.
Yep.
And so she went in and she actually won. She called me and she's like, yeah, I won. She called me. She said, not only did I win, but I then sued him for the attorney's fees. And I said, but you're not an attorney. You can't get attorney's fees. She said, well, I didn't know that. They had offered me $1,000 to go away. I wouldn't take it. And I insisted on putting an attorney, the collection attorney, James Freeney on the stand. And I said, you cross-examined James Freeney? So imagine a pro se putting an attorney on the stand, trying to get attorney's fees.
There you go.
And cross-examining. I said,
asking him what his hourly rate is.
She said, you should hire me. I had never met her in person. I said, you're hired. I said, come on in, you're hired.
Start tomorrow.
As a signing bonus, I'm going to buy this transcript. And I did, and it was fantastic.
Did you frame it?
I did not, but it was fantastic. He's since passed away, and Freeney wasn't a bad human being, but it was still great to see him get drilled by a very knowledgeable consumer attorney. I will say that
you
Jill
had no idea what you were going into when you came into that trial, right?
Jill was my paralegal. She ended up she's now barred and has her own practice.
Very nice.
Very good. Way to mentor. Welcome to the Bob and Irreverent D Talk Law podcast. I'm Bob, short for Benjamin O. Benson, B-O-B. This is Irreverent D, short for Dwayne Singleton of the Singleton Trial Lawyers Group.
I'll throw my gang signs.
We're not doing YSL today.
I'm sorry.
And confused. We're joined today by a really great friend. Actually, we found out a friend of both of us from some time ago, Dan DeWoskin of the DeWoskin Law Firm in Decatur, Georgia. Dan, tell us for a couple minutes about your practice.
So my practice is mostly personal injury and criminal defense. We are trial lawyers, and while I started off doing criminal defense, I'm post-certified here in Georgia, and I was a sheriff's deputy for a while. But we ended up getting in. Once we realized that if you could try a case, you can try a case, and if you can learn the law, that you can do it. We got into handling personal injury cases. So our practice is split, and one of the most common questions we get is, so do you do more personal injury or do you do more criminal? And the fact is, it just depends. I mean, if we're in trial, then that is the only case that's really going on, but it just depends. We work with a lot of other attorneys, so we will end up bringing other attorneys for their expertise and whatnot. And
that's that's a thing that a lot of people don't understand about attorneys. Like, the three of us are technically in competition with each other all the time. Like, you are in competition with Dwayne over criminal defense clients. I'm kind of in competition with you over personal injury clients. But in fact, we're more likely to help each other out and refer clients to each other. Why is that?
Well, it's funny because I definitely noticed this and have paid attention to this over the years. There are a lot of organizations, as you know, that for lawyers to join. They're for personal injury. The biggest one in Georgia is the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association.
Yep.
For criminal defense, it's the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers.
Are you a member of that?
I am.
Okay.
And not to besmirch the personal injury attorneys, but what happens at a lot of personal injury...
Besmirch.
What happens at a lot of personal injury functions and things like that, especially if you're very green as a lawyer, will say, where are you getting your cases?
Right.
And you say, oh, I advertise here, I do this, or I've got a connection. There's a body shop owner who knows me. If you answer that question, you'll stop getting those calls.
Right. Somebody's listening. Yeah.
There is a different level of competition. Now, when I say that, criminal defense attorneys, and I say this, it's much different.
I feel like criminal defense is more of a team sport. Right? You call other attorneys, you ask them questions, right?
There is not now, don't get me wrong, personal injury attorneys will share their secrets, they'll share stuff, but certainly that connection that if I put a question out on the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, I'm going to get responses. I will get assistance. I may have attorneys offer to, do you need me to come in and help? And by the way, not for money. With personal injury, that idea that there is this limited number of pieces in the pie is different. The competition is different.
A zero-sum game, we call it.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to say that it's all a bunch of sharks or whatever, but it is pay attention to your groups, and those personal connections are more important for trust purposes in personal injury than they are in criminal defense. In criminal defense, you can walk around talking about what you do where it won't dry up. It's a different level and kind of relationship.
Yeah, if I hear something cool that somebody does during a closing or something they do during board hire, I'll steal it. And they're not upset about it because they're just as happy I won my case as I am that they won theirs, right?
Let's get into the news.
Today, we're talking about wrongful arrest or wrongful imprisonment or false arrest. And frankly, I need your insight, both of you, on like what it is, because I know what false arrest is in a civil case. But we have this news item that involves like the police arresting this guy, and it turns out completely this never happens. Turns out it's completely the wrong guy.
No.
Now, in another episode, we're going to cover how this has happened where somebody was incorrectly identified and arrested and stayed in jail because of facial recognition. And apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently with African Americans, the facial recognition is super racist because like it just assumes that one person looks like another. Anyways, so in this case, here's the news item.
Don't trust AI.
Don't trust it. Didn't we have this in another episode? Don't trust AI.
Right.
Use your own judgment.
No question.
All right. This guy, Brinson, just turned 18 years old. He was arrested for child molestation. Here's what happened. This happened in Bibb County. What's Bibb County? That's
Macon.
That's Macon.
Macon
right?
bacon, baby.
So Bibb County is roughly like the county that would have Augusta, Georgia, or the county that would have Savannah or Columbus. It's kind of
one of the biggest counties.
Big county. All right. And so there was a BOLO out for a black male.
Be on the lookout for.
BOLO, not the tie.
That's right.
Not the tie. Be on the lookout for a black male who is 160 pounds, about 5'6", and about 18 years old.
Narrows it down to about 100,000 people in Macon.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Basically.
Right. Just that. Just that.
That's right.
Yeah. So they picked up this guy, Brinson, who is 130 pounds. And, and not the same height, and but around the same age. They put him in jail. He stays in jail for like weeks until they figure out, completely the wrong guy. Like didn't even have the same. He only had the same first name. No, nothing else was the same.
Right.
He didn't live the same place. Didn't have the same last name. He obviously had 30 pounds difference between the person they were looking for. Now, Dwayne, you know about losing 30 pounds, but you couldn't lose 30 pounds like in the few seconds that it would take for the BOLO to come out.
I can gain it, I can lose it.
Ben, just to add, if you want to picture this like a puzzle,
right?
That if you're looking for, if you turned 160 pounds, black male, 5'6", into a puzzle piece, just imagine how this isn't. It's not similar. Right. Imagine how long you'd have to spend trying to get that puzzle piece to. I would tell you that you're looking for a hole like this and trying to get a puzzle piece in that's just never ever going to fit there.
Yeah. Right. The thing to me. Anyways, let me finish the news thing and then we'll discuss. But I want to say the thing to me later. Okay. So eventually, what the defense attorney figured out was, hey, like they obviously have the wrong person. They finally got the judge and the court to recognize and the police to recognize, and they say, we're going to let you go. Sorry, our bad. And now Brinson has got a lawyer, and they're fixing to sue the police for wrongful arrest.
Right.
Right. So that's the news item. It does happen. In fact, it happens more often than we like to think.
Well, and a lot of people may be confused, like, why is he in jail? Well, if you can't make bond, right, or the judge doesn't give you a bond, even though you're innocent, even though you didn't do it, you sit in jail until trial.
Can we pause there?
Right.
Because this is like the fourth time during our podcast that I keep saying, I still don't understand what bond is, right? Like how does it actually happen?
Well, I've tried to explain it to you. Maybe you can explain it to him better than,
How does bond work?
You get arrested for certain
Theoretically get arrested.
For certain very minor offenses, misdemeanors, and things like that. A lot of times there are preset bonds. So if you are arrested for shoplifting in a lot of places in Georgia, there may be a preset bond of $500. You are in and out of jail pretty fast as long as someone can get to a bonding company or come in to the sheriff's office and make your bond, make a payment, which then releases you. And if you were to pay the entire amount, then you get it all back when you show up for court and the case is closed, even if you're convicted, because it's not a penalty. It is meant to secure your attendance at court. That's what bond is. Now,
okay, that's the part I missed.
Okay. For certain things, however, there are bonds that only a superior court judge can make. So if you are charged with certain felonies, then you have to be brought before a magistrate judge within 72 hours. That's the criminal procedure here in Georgia. So they're required to get you before a judge. The judge makes sure okay, so this is what you're arrested for, and he's checking boxes, or she's checking boxes. However, there are certain offenses, and he can grant a bond on a lot of things. However, if you're charged with murder, that magistrate judge can't say, I'm going to set your bond at $10,000. You then have to wait for a superior court judge to set your bond.
Which means you wait longer.
You wait longer, and that depends on the court, the county, the whatnot. But we're not talking, it should not be months. You file it, and it should.
Okay. So in this case, can this guy, Brinson, sue the police for wrongful arrest?
Can I sue for that?
Well, anyone can sue anybody for anything. The question is...
You got a crayon, you're good to go.
If you have a crayon and $600, $400, well, with inflation.
Well, some clerks won't take a crayon. You might have to have blue or black ink, but you know.
So, can he? Yes, he can. The question is, will it get to the point where, will it withstand a motion to dismiss? Will it withstand summary judgment? Basically, will he be able to have his day in court? And when we say that, we mean get before a jury.
Get before a jury. Because the argument, now this part I am somewhat familiar with, the argument on the other side is, look, it's our job. We're the police. It's our job to be on the lookout for a person that basically matches this person's description. We have discretion. We're charged with finding the people, and it was just my opinion that this was the guy. Right. And if it's just my opinion that was the guy, well, mistakes happen. Right. But the law is going to protect me as the police officer if I think, this is probably the guy. Right. Why should I be prosecuted? Why should I have a lawsuit against me if I'm just doing my duty as a police officer?
Well, the doing your duty as a police officer thing drives me crazy. Okay. I think we should completely pass some law, do something in Georgia to give us some avenues to do away with qualified immunity and sovereign immunity so that we can file lawsuits. Because if you do something so outrageous and you put somebody in a situation where he sat in jail and then I think he got harmed in jail, right?
Oh yeah. When he came back from jail, he said, "Oh, I'm really messed up. I'm really messed up." He had face tattoos. And all that
terrible
kind of stuff.
Things happen in jail: rapes, beatings. All this kind of crazy stuff. You should be able to sue without having to jump through all these hoops. But if the officer is just doing his job and then just makes a mistake, then he's protected.
Well, keep in mind the other thing. I feel like I need to preface every single comment with, I know this is complicated, but so I'm going to do away with that. But I will tell you that if you have an officer who is operating in good faith, let's say that this officer absolutely is a terrible judge let's say that the guy was 160 and fit the description. The trouble is that description is so general. Unless you know that, hey, we're looking for him. He's in this neighborhood and he's wearing blue shorts, and you find a guy wearing blue shorts who's sweating bullets and looks
running.
Running. Now the other question is he just jogging? Is he
Right.
just looking? We don't want to go down to
that's a whole
exactly.
other thing.
We'll stay away from that.
But hang on. Let me pause. The thing to me, I think you're getting to this, is they had the actual name of the guy they were looking for, and they arrested this guy.
Yep.
Different name.
Yep.
Right. Like it's,
See, that's ridiculous.
see, to me, I think is that what you were getting
Oh,
at?
I've had that. I've defended that case. Dwayne, I'm sure, has defended that case. So he's with 6 other Hispanic people and you're like, well, our client's black and was supposed to be with 6 other Hispanic people, but he's with 3 white females and 2 Asian females. So you're like, how is this the right guy? Well, he fit the description.
Right.
I also want to say that when we're talking about violations of civil rights and the damage that's done, the officer that arrested him, I mean, maybe this is a controversial position, but he's not the one who's responsible for Brinson's safety in the jail.
No.
That's the responsibility of the sheriff.
Right.
And so the idea that we accept, well, bad things happen in jail. No, we shouldn't accept that.
Right.
The sheriff has a responsibility to take care of, to make sure that people aren't raped, assaulted, abused,
that's true. I keep
tattooed in
forgetting
jail.
I keep forgetting.
So when
about
I say that there might be other blame to go around, you can't just say, well, that happens in jail, so that's the officer's fault. The issue here, and what's coming down to, Dwayne mentioned immunity. What that is, it obviously protects the officer, so the officer can say, yeah, sue me. I have immunity. I did my job. And no, the job has to be done in good faith. The question is, the officers, are the officers' actions reasonable and whatnot? And on a million of these kinds of things, that's where you get into the nitty gritty. But a lot of times, unfortunately, and I do think it's changing, but especially in Georgia and in the 11th Circuit specifically, the courts have bent over backwards to protect anyone wearing a badge.
Yeah.
Require the officers to carry $10 million of insurance. Let us sue them. The insurance companies will fix it.
You
Now,
think
the other
so?
thing is-
Absolutely.
The other thing is you can sue the officers if you sue the officers individually. Here's the kicker. When the officer is truly, well, once again, I'll dispense with it's complicated, a bad guy, okay? I'm just going to say when the officer is a bad guy, he's malicious and he
Right.
doesn't care because he arrested him. He may not have done this, but he did something else. If you get that officer and you prove it really well and you show his background, do you know what happens? The department hangs him out.
Yep.
Hey, listen, we trained this guy. We just didn't know. And once we
talked about
found
the Fulton
out,
County case.
we fired him immediately.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all the time we have. Man, that went really fast, didn't it? Thank you for joining the Bob and Irreverent D Talk Law podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you email us at the email in the comment section.
Let us know where you're from down below.
Yep. Thanks and have a nice
Thanks,
day.
guys.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next time when Bob and Irreverent D talk law.